Plain and simple, you've not seen a freestyle quad like this before. G'day, Stu from UAVfutures here today, and I am about over the moon. I am super ecstatic. I don't do freestyle too often, but get set to get stunned. What we're going to be looking at, this is from Catalyst Machine Works. It's the Smooth Operator. I promise I won't do any more singing, but the Smooth Operator, and let me tell you straight off the bat, you think you know freestyle, you think you know freestyle quads, you've seen those flat plate quads before, the flat packs. This is like no other quad you have ever seen. The design of this thing is next level, and I really think this is what all quads are going to be moving to. So get a cup of coffee, get a cup of tea if that's what you're into, or if you're bot grinder, get a beer, because this, for a freestyle bando ripper, is an absolute game changer when it comes to freestyle. Now what this is the part one about the Smooth Operator. We're going to put it on the bench, look at the text and the specs, do the bench breakdown, and then in part two, that's right here, somewhere a little card should pop up. Thank you very much, YouTube. That's where we take it out to the field, fly it around, all that sort of good stuff. But what I want to say here is, if you're a freestyle pilot, definitely stay tuned, because this is like a bando king. They do some amazing stuff, and Catalyst Machine Works, this is what really surprises me. They are an amazing company, but they are so dominant in the racing scene that then they've taken all the knowledge, everything that they've learned over there, they've brought it to the freestyle side of things, and really get set to get stunned. And I also want to do a little poll as well, a little tag up here. What do you think about Catalyst Machine Works? Because I know they have a loyal following. They really look after their supporters and their pilots and the people who like their gear. And that's through no accident. That's because of how much they give back to the community. As far as I'm concerned, they are one of the top companies that really stands for what our industry is all about. Them and Armaton, they make some amazing stuff and also really support their pilots and their consumers as well. So a little poll up there. What do you think about Catalyst Machine Works? But get set to get stunned. Let's put this Smooth Operator on the bench and find out why even a track pilot like me is losing their mind over this freestyle Smooth Operator beast. Let's do it. Alrighty, here it is on the bench, and get set to get stunned, because what we're going to do, we're going to go through an overview, talk about quickly some of the components, and then the big one, you've never seen design like you have with this. I've got to take my hat off to Catalyst Machine Works. The when I've been looking at it, taking it apart, putting it back together, you've never seen anything like what is being done in this frame. It is outstanding, the amount of smart engineering in here. So your freestyle game is going to change. You're going to learn a lot. Then we're going to talk about the quality of the thing and the pros and the cons, and then we'll wrap up the video for the part one bench breakdown. But as an overview, what this is a premium 5-inch freestyle that is designed to absolutely take a beating. Everything in here is super tough, super durable, and also designed to protect your components in here. That makes it easy, very easy to service as well. Now I'm going to link it down below, and I'm not sure if they offer bind and flies or not, because I know this happens every time when I do a video. They seem to get sold out a little bit, and I'm not sure if they're like, Stuart, please just do the frame. But what I'm going to say, email them, hit them up, hassle them, because I know they've built some in the past, and they build outstanding rigs. So let's stick it on the scales, and it is going to come in at a little bit heavier. It's not made to be a racer whatsoever, so weight is going to be up there a little bit more. It's coming in at pretty much 390 grams. We've got some huge chunky motors in here, huge chunky bits of carbon, because look, it is a tank designed to get some unbelievable freestyle footage. If you're into band, you can tell how excited I am just even in this intro. If you're into freestyle, and especially if you're into bandos and you want a quad that can take a hammering, this is probably about as good as they can get. It's going to be compared quite a lot to the Rooster, and they go about things very differently, but this, I've got to say, is an amazing freestyle option. And if you're into freestyle, and especially if you're into bandos, something like this I really think is going to be a game changer for you. Freestyle has not had an exciting rig since the Rooster, as far as I'm concerned. I think the Rooster was absolutely outstanding by Armaton, and now Catalyst Machine Works is pushing the boundaries as well. I can't wait. It's very, very exciting times for our hobby. So let's dive in, quickly talk about the components, and then the good stuff, you wait till you see the design of this craft. So what I've got, look, I've just got some flow props on the outside. I'm going to take those off because they're going to be, it's going to make the review a lot easier. So bear with me. I'm going to take these Avan flows off. Okie dokie. Now look, I'm going to flash some pictures on the screen. You got to admit, this thing is far out. There is not anything that's designed like it. It looks completely different as well. The way they've got their braces, the way the carbon goes, and some of the other features in here, it is very, very clever the way that it goes together. Now, the first thing we're going to talk about, let's get these components out of the way. So on the outside of this one, we've got some Hyperlight motors, 2307, so a huge motor, 2522 32 kV as well. So they are going to be sucking down the juice. A very, very huge, heavy motor. You're going to be able to put a bit of a bigger battery on here. It's in a very, very sort of slammed fashion as well. Moving towards the middle, of course, there's a 4-in-1 ESC in the middle. We've got a little axial antenna. Our F4 flight controller towards the back. We've got our run cam right here at the front, which is very well protected. And a huge part of this one, it's got a lot of GoPro mount options as well. So we're going to be talking a lot about the GoPros and how they go together, because that's what Freestyle's all about. It's about getting that juicy HD footage. So many of you pilots put it up on YouTube. You want it to look good, and you also want to be able to protect your components as well. Now look, that's probably the quickest I've ever gone through the components, and the main reason there is I want to get onto the design of the thing, because when you see how this thing goes together, you're going to look at other quads and other Freestyle quads a lot differently. You're probably going to be a lot more critical of what they've got coming up, because the stuff in here is super smart. Now you can see at the front you have this huge sort of thing here, which is like the sort of brace bar. It's coming from the massive droner, and that is 5mm thick. That carbon there is designed to take a heck of an impact. As far as I'm concerned, I don't know if anyone has ever broken these. When I was talking to the Catalyst Machine Works guys on a full-on frontal crash, this thing, it is a tank. And then on top of that, you've got some 5mm arms as well, so the chances of snapping an arm is, as it is, you know, if you just took it on that merit, is very, very slim. An absolute huge amount of carbon, which does add up to some of that weight. Now this is where things start to get special, is the amount of force that gets pushed in here also has a little bit of a TPU and a little bit of a printed buffer to sort of stop things from breaking. So not only is it very, very strong, it also has some active crash elements as well that help reduce the stress on your components, on your camera, and the frame itself in a very, very hard impact. Now what I'm going to do, look, mine's made for the session, but I'm going to take this off so we can talk about what's in here just a little bit more, and we'll have a bit of a clearer picture as well. So I'm going to simply take this off. Okie dokie, that's a little bit better. I've taken the GoPro mount. I've also moved some of the Velcro straps so we could see a little bit more. And let's get back on track with the design features. So we talked about that huge brace at the front, which is made for taking a mammoth impact. And then I touched on, you know, having some sort of active crash dampening as we're going in. And what that means is we've got this special plastic print in here. I'm going to see if I can flash a picture on the screen because it's not coming up the best, but this whole part is mounted with these two screws right here into a bit of, it's a little bit harder than TPU, but a little bit less, I guess, it's a little bit softer than ABS. But when this impacts, there is a tiny little bit of give inside here, which is going to help as well, so it's not going to be busting your frame. And also these arms, they're mounted a little bit as well. You've got this section up the top, which I've got a spare one right here actually. This is going to make this a little bit easier. This part right here, and this is revision 2, because this bit has a nylon part, and we'll talk about that as well. There is so much to talk about in here, so much cool stuff. But this is where the top of that camera part, the top of this camera section is fitted into. So it also moves back, has a tiny bit of give. And what that's going to allow it to do, it means you're not going to snap things. This is going to have, as well as being very, very tough, it's also going to be very, very forgiving because it's got a little bit of bounce, a little bit of shock. And that is something that a lot of frames on the market do not have today. It's almost like the way that the front of cars crumple a little bit. This, we've got a tiny little bit of extra give with the printed mounts that it's actually buckling into. So you've got, it's going to just absorb just ever so slightly a little bit of that impact, which could be the difference between a busted camera and a camera that's just going to bounce off and keep working, which is exactly what you want in a freestyle rig, because you're going to be hitting up some hardcore bandos. This is the craft that you need to do it. Now, one of the other design features, what they've done is very, very clever, and it's built from America. And this was where something I really, really loved is they've got a split level design. So you can see the front motors right here, and I'll put a picture on the screen as well, are actually a lot lower. They're 12mm lower than the ones at the back, and that's because you've got these clever braces, the way the arms go together, which are also the standoffs and those little parts. You've got it's a slam deck as well. This part is up a lot higher, so you're going to have a lot of clean air when you're flying around. It makes your flying smoother, it makes your turns easier, and it just makes your overall, I guess, experience doing FPV. You're just going to have an easier time framing those shots, getting that nice freestyle footage. Now, if we flip this over, you can see just how thin it is. You really don't have too much room, and I would say that's going to be something that's going to come up a little bit. You don't have too much room to work on your stuff as well. We've got our 4-in-1 ESC, and our flight controller is actually back here, so that's a little bit different. But check this out. Have you ever seen a quad that does this? So we've actually got this 3mm plate right here as a base plate. Very, very tough, going to be very, very hard to break. But what that does mean is you kind of have a bit of room that you can play with, and if you're smart, and that's what Catalyst Machine Works has done, you can do something like this. So I'm going to take off the bottom right here, and then they're actually using some of that space in there. So you can mount your receiver in there. You can have access to your VTX. Things in here with those 3 little screws, it gives you an extra 3 mil to play with. So because they've got this is only 1 mil thick, but that's fine because it's not going to be taking any of the impact. It's well protected. I love that. You've got like a secret little trap door that also lets you utilize that space that's in there inside that carbon. It is extra protected, and I don't know, if you want a clean build, which is also going to help with the center of gravity, because when you have a slam thing, yes, they feel better, but you're going to come into some sacrifices. One of them is room. This is an amazing, very, very smart solution. So I love that as well. So that's 2 points to me. It's getting, I love how it takes the impact at the front, and also it's using TPU mounts and this part on underneath for our extra room with a 3mm plate, keeping it smart, keeping it also strong. Now get ready for this, it gets even better. One of the other big limitations about having a slam frame is access to your components. So you can see we had that part on the bottom, and that also gave us extra room. But also, if you take this out, so those screws come off, and then check this out. I don't think you've ever seen this before. The back part comes off, so you've also got access to your flight control if you need to do some emergency soldering, something like that. That I love as well. You have so much access to your components, whether it be underneath, from the top. The frame is still ridiculously rigid. It's going to move a little bit because I've taken the screws out. But overall, as soon as you put that back in, a couple of screws and a couple of screws on the bottom, you're ready to rock and roll as well. So that is a huge limitation that a lot of slammed frames find. They are nightmares to work on. This one, the way it's set up, it is a piece of cake. You're out in the field, you're flying a tough brick, tough brick bando, something breaks, you can get in and out very, very easily. So it's a nice quad to repair in the field as well. Now I've got this, hopefully I can line this back up. There we go. And I should put these screws back in the arms before I forget. Alrighty, so that is an amazing feature. And then look, it keeps on going. Another part I like as well is these arms, just like the America, are super easy to replace. If you happen to break one in the field, you simply take out the motor screws, so you pop your motor off, and then you take out this screw, loosen this one, it slides in and out just like that. In probably 5 minutes, you've replaced the arm. There is no crazy screws, there's no brace plate or anything like that. It's going to take forever to work through. Very, very simple stuff. It'll probably take just as long as putting the top on and off of this. So I really like that design. It's made to crash, and it's made to crash well, and if worst case scenario happens, you do break something, you do need to do some repairs, it's also very, very easy. Now moving towards the back, this is where you've got your TPU mount for your antenna. This is going to change as well, because something Catalyst Machine Works is always doing, they always take their data, they move it, they improve it, and then they come up with the next iteration. And what they've got here, they've actually changed this. So you're not going to get this mount, you're going to get one that looks like, I wonder if I have a spare. Anyway, this is the old version, but the new version, it no longer has these two little screw holes, because they were getting some fractures after a lot of time, because your antenna simply clicks on the back like this. That's probably one part that I would like to change. So Catalyst Machine Works, I'm sure you're going to be watching this video. What I would really like, rather than your antenna come out like this and simply screw into the back, and in the new version, you don't, it's held on by tension, I guess, or compression. But in the new version, what I would like is if you had a TPU mount that also came out and protected your antenna a little bit as well. So it almost hugged it. So once you screwed it in there, most of it was protected by this bit of TPU. It might be a couple of grams heavier, but almost like a glove that was sort of holding it. I think that'd be a nice little addition that would just protect your antenna and reduce some of that stress even more. This was the new version that I couldn't find. So you can see on the back, there's no little screw holes here, so it's not going to snap or anything. They've listened to what was happening, and they've changed that out as well. The next thing I want to talk about as well is the camera protection. So that's something that breaks quite a lot for people, and we're going to be talking about FPV cameras and also GoPros as well, your recording cameras. Now there's a slot in here. The way this is done, you are going to be getting extremely unlucky to break your FPV camera. You've got two huge thick plates on the side. They have like a dampening effect, a cushioning effect in a hard impact. It has a heap of carbon at the front as well to protect it. The only way that you're going to really smash this is if you hit a pole like sticking out like this. Even a flag or anything's not going to break it. Flat into the ground, there's no way you can really touch the camera besides something that is about 10 mils thick, and you just happen to hit it dead on. That is the only way I can really see breaking the camera. There's two little slides in here as well, so you can slide your camera back and forth. It takes all the micro cameras, and there's a couple of different slits, whether you want to sit it high, sit it low, the choice is yours. So the amount of customization is great when it comes to the FPV camera. But on top of that, here's another feature I love, is you put in these different mounts right here, and that adjusts your different angle of the GoPro. I've got mine set at 40 degrees, and it's the same sort of basis as the America. You screw it in there, screw that part on the top. It's not not going to move. Bob's your uncle. But they understand that some people like the Session, but the Session is disappearing now because you can't buy them anymore. You can also get one of these. So they actually make a full-size GoPro mount, one of the few freestyle crafts that understand not everybody rocks the Session. Some people like the qualities of this GoPro right here. It does get better footage. It does have better functions, but it's a little bit heavier as well. But if you want to put it on here, it mounts on the same way. But check this out. In their case, they also have a little bit of cushioning as well. So a lot of times if you smash into something, you've got some, I'm going to flash another picture on the screen. It's got this sort of built-in compression part that's going to take some of the impact before it actually hits your craft. And then also it's on the back as well, and you might be saying, why is it on the back? And that's because if this in a slammed frame, you've got your battery in here in a hard forward impact, it's going to slide straight into the back of the camera. And these cameras, they're expensive, but also they've got a glass section at the back which is touch screen, so you don't want a hard battery smashing up against that at 70 miles per hour. This little bit of cushioning and dampening and sponging is also going to save your camera as well. Now, just to top it off, to prove this really is a freestyle pilot's rig, we also have this. So you saw this one, that simply clicks on the front to protect your lens, and I wish I had a GoPro to actually show you, but right here we have this little magic number, and I must have that upside down, and this one has a little slit in it, or maybe it was this one. Where is this? This one right here, you have a little slit that hopefully you might be able to see. I should take it off actually. There you go. Can you see that little slit in there? That is where you slide your ND filter. So I know a lot of people, they put those filters on their GoPro. This one, they've got it in this little cover right here. So there's another, I guess, little addition, something that makes this the ultimate freestyle rig. And now the final part of the design, and now look, there's so many features on here. You can see it's covered in brace plates, it's very, very rigid, very, very stiff. The final part I want to mention as well is when it comes to having a slam deck, it means the center of gravity is very low, and you need to mount, that's why they've given you 2 Velcro straps, because you don't want your battery sliding around, because that's when they traditionally do get cut up. But what you need to do, use these 2 Velcro straps that come with it. That's going to hold your battery nice and snug, give you a good center of gravity, well protected, and you can rip some crazy bandos to your heart's content. Now this is where we've got to move on. We're going to talk about the quality of the thing, and for the smooth operator, look, I loved the America, but each quad on their merits, and I was hopeful, but I wasn't sure how Catalyst Machine Works was going to enter the freestyle market, because they do make racing frames. They make amazing racing gear, but I've got to say the quality of this thing, the design that it's gone into, and the tolerances, the prints are amazing. The carbon is beautiful. Everything in here, and especially with the binder fly with the components as well. It's a beautiful quad. So if you end up getting one of these and you like freestyle, I feel like this video is talking to you guys. So top notch, 10 out of 10 there for the quality. Now I guess that brings us on to the pros and the cons, and no quad is ever perfect. And what you're going to find, my biggest pro with Catalyst Machine Works is the price. This is a boutique frame. It's right up there with I would say the Armaton Rooster, and the Armaton Rooster is getting on now. It's getting a bit grey in the tooth. This one seems to be like the new contender for one of the best freestyle rigs on the market. You can tell it is designed, they've put a lot of thought in here, designing a freestyle rig that works really well, but this is it. This is the kicker. You're going to have to pay for it. So Catalyst Machine Works, it is not the cheapest out there. It's not the budget option. This is the performance option. Usually they do performance in racing. This one, you're going to get one of the best performing freestyle rigs out there that lets you capture some amazing footage, but be prepared to pay for it as well. So it's going to be an expensive rig, especially versus some of the other cheaper options. Now, some of the other pros as well, besides the design, I think we've got to mention Catalyst Machine Works customer service. I'm going to put a little survey. It should pop up here. I might have done it at the start of this video, but you've got to admit they really treat their customers right. They're one of the stores that does it right. They're one of the creators, the designers that really looks out for pilots. So I know I keep mentioning them and Armaton, but as far as I'm concerned, those two are in a league of their own versus some of the other quad companies out there. The customer service of Catalyst Machine Works, second to none. Great job, guys, because I know you have a very, very loyal following, and that's no accident. That's because of how well you treat your pilots and how well you treat the community. Now, a few little nitpicks I have about this is you are going to get some shorter flight times because it is a heavier quad. We've got really powerful motors. If you stick a GoPro on like this, it's going to be a lot heavier. You're not going to get insane racing performance. That's not what this is after, and I understand that, but I hope you're expecting shorter flight times, because these motors are it's a chunky tank that's going to protect your stuff flying around, but it is going to be sucking down the juice as well. And Catalyst Machine Works, like I mentioned, I have a think about just having that little extra TPU mount, so instead of just this whole bit, it still screws in like it does, but comes out like a bit of a sleeve and protects your antenna. I think that'd be a nice little option if we can think of something like that. But that's really nitpicking. I love what they're doing. I love how easy it's easy to service. I really like how strong it is and how it has that sort of active dampening in a crash. I think you've heard me ramble about it for the last probably 10-15 minutes. I'm a huge fan. Well done to Catalyst Machine Works. You've done a great job. I love this craft. Now, let's go fly it. Alrighty, so there it is. There's my part 1 review of the Smooth Operator, and I know what you're thinking. Stuart, stop talking. Go fly this thing. Yes, that's what we're going to go do. Go watch that part 2 video, but I think you'll agree the design things in here, even for a track pilot like me, I am blown away at how they've taken what they learned in the racing game, they've applied it to freestyle, and it really is game changer. Like I'm almost speechless of how impressed I see so many quads and you think, oh, that's a good idea, that's nice, but it is like Catalyst Machine Works has had an epiphany of good ideas and they put everything in one quad. You can tell how excited I am. I'm going to put the link down below. I'm not too sure for the bind and flies as well. If they don't do them, email them, hassle them, tell them Stuart said you do it. I'm probably throwing them under the bus there, but there's everything. Drop your comments too. What do you think about the Smooth Operator? What do you think it means for the future of our hobby? Would you like one of these? Do you know, what are the pros? What would you like to change? And what do you think about their customer service and how they represent and stand up for our pilots? And I've also got to take my hat off to them again. This is just another example. So this has turned up. Since filming that on the bench, I also want to mention too, this bit here, this is the part where it goes to in the front, and there was a little email that came through and said sometimes in the past, in their learn, I like how Catalyst Machine Works, they take what they learn, they apply it, they take that data, they do revisions, they make things better. That little nylon insert was because some people in the testing had broken out in the very first iteration that got sent out. It was shearing off back here. So if you do have one of these, the very first version, you've already got that, so you're probably not watching this review video, but if you do happen to have one of the old versions and you break this part, they're going to send you out one of the new parts. But all the ones from now on are sent out with this nylon version included. But if you did have one of the old ones, this is just an example of Catalyst Machine Works going above and beyond for their pilots, for their consumers. They're going to send you out one of these little parts if you happen to break that for free. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Drop your comments down below. Smooth Operator. I promise no more singing. But that's it for the Smooth Operator. And as always, happy flying. I am really pumped to go try this thing. This would encourage me to go fly to Bando, because the reason I don't do it is because I'm really worried about breaking quads. Even though I've got a lot, I still don't like smashing them up into walls and bricks and poles, but this really makes me feel confident that it's going to be okay. Anyway, happy flying. Alrighty, so hopefully you guys enjoyed that video. Definitely subscribe if you're new to the channel and check out these videos. And I'm also going to leave a little link here to my Patreon page, because I've got some fantastic Patreon supporters and I like to give back to them as well. So if you want to join the UAVfutures family, there's things like bonus Velcro straps, little bundles of FPV goodies and things like that that also get sent out. Anyway, happy flying.